Hello, Mr. and Mr. Smith. Today we're going to be covering the education funding part of your comprehensive plan. Now, you recently stated that it is a goal of yours to fund about $20,000 a year of 5 years of Lizzie's education. We're going to make these assumptions that college education inflation rate is at 6%, and you currently have a brokerage account of that's around $70,000 that you have been contributing about $2,000 a year to. Now, it's important to keep in mind the effects of education inflation, as it's higher than the normal inflation rate, and it will cause the cost of college expenses to increase in the future. So, for example, the $20,000 that you're wanting to provide each year right now is going to be around $40,000 in the future when Lizzie starts college. I'm going to be covering a few savings education vehicles that will be useful for this education funding. So let's start with the 529 plan. This type of savings vehicle is sponsored by a state or a state agency, and it's used to fund for higher education purposes. The underlying investments within a 529 plan grow tax deferred, and the withdrawals are used for higher education are taken out tax free. These funds are also protected from creditors, and of course, as everything has a disadvantage, so does this, as most of the states only allow adjustments for the underlying investments once per year, and any withdrawals that are not used for higher education will be subject to a 10% penalty, and some of the income will be subject to taxes on the growth. Next, there's the Roth IRA. Roth IRAs are a typical funding investment vehicle for retirement planning, but can also be used for education funding as well. So the contributions are, as you know, made with after-tax dollars, and the underlying investments grow tax-free, and withdrawals can be taken without any penalty, as long as you're of the age 59 and a half or up. Other advantages include that the assets are protected, and you also have significant more investment options, and the funds do not have to be used for the educational purposes. So Lizzie will be able to use the assets in this type of account for, living expenses, or maybe even being able to eat out or eat on campus or anything like that. So the only disadvantage that I can really have to say about the Roth IRA is there is a contribution limit of $5,500 or $6,500 if you're 50 and older, and there is an income phase out for individuals who earn high incomes. Next, we're going to cover the Coverdell Education Savings Account. This type of account is similar to the 529 plan in that they both offer broad investment options. They do grow tax deferred. The withdrawals are tax-free as long as they're used for the college education expenses, and they also offer asset protection. The main disadvantage in this one is that there's a $2,000 annual contribution limit, and the contributions have to end as soon as Lizzie turns 18. This also requires all assets in the account to be depleted by the time Lizzie reaches the age 30. So if any of these are not met, there will be some tax ramifications and some additional penalties, which you don't want to incur. Finally, we're going to look at the Uniform Transfers to Minors Act and the Uniforms Gift to Minors Act. These type of accounts are custodial accounts that transfer to Lizzie for the sole purpose for funding her higher education. Advantages of these accounts are their broad investment options and asset protections. However, these accounts are considered to belong to the beneficiary, so it could be a disadvantage to Lizzie if she wants to qualify for any financial aid. And as soon as the beneficiary as soon as Lizzie reaches 18, they'll become legally hers, and she'll be able to use the funds for however she sees fit. So, it's an advantage that she can use it for anything outside of higher education, but the problem is she may not qualify for financial aid because it will be considered part of her assets. Now, this brokerage account that you have currently been set up to use for the college education does have some advantages, and that there's no contribution limit, so you can put in as however much that you see fit into this type of account. You do have the unlimited investment options, and the withdrawals can be used for anything as well. However, the disadvantages are this does not grow tax deferred, so any interest and dividends that are generated from this type of account are going to be taxed at your income tax rate, and you'll have to pay income taxes on it every year. So what we're going to recommend for you, and what would be best suited for your education funding plan, is going to be using John's current Roth IRA account that's currently valued at $87,000. because there's already a high amount in there, your contributions will be much lower than what we would intended. So we're going to recommend that you contribute to this annually for the next 16 years, and these contributions will continue to increase with inflation. The advantages of this are all, as previously stated, that the investments will grow tax deferred, withdrawals can be used for anything, and they can also be taken tax free. It will be protected from any creditors, and you will have more investment options. Now this last one is showing how we plan for you to contribute and how much the increases in contributions will be over time. And then it even shows how the effects of inflation from right now are going to affect when Lizzie starts college and how much that needs to increase to be able to cover the amount of expenses that you're planning to cover. And then it even shows also how she will be withdrawing these assets each year. So, do you have any questions for me? Thank you, Mr. and Mr. Smith, for coming in, meeting with me, and I hope I covered everything that you needed.